Our next speaker is Martin from Sentian AI. Take it away.
Thank you. Right. Will you put it in full screen mode? Or right. Anybody who has paid its has a house and has paid its electricity bill for the last few months and noticed that the price of energy has gone up, and anybody who can then think about what the process industry that makes metals and pulp and paper and other things can imagine what kind of bills that they are having. And there's the other side of this. Anybody who hasn't lived under a rock knows that we need to fix the climate issues too. So those are the themes of energy that I will talk a little bit about today. But first, my name is Martin Rugfelt. I'm the CEO and founder of Sentian. And just to introduce you a little bit to Sentian, we do AI applications for the industry. And since day one, we've always maintained a view that we should try to be at the forefront of what is possible with AI to help our customers. And with that, we've actually managed to do a few technical breakthroughs in our space, and that has led to two products. One is called Sentian Controller. It's about optimizing processes in large process industries, so process control optimization. And the other one is Sentian Planner, which is optimizing logistics, supply chain, and planning situations. And we have great customers and some really great partners too. And then talking about these process industries and what they have, because I'm going to focus on that part in Sentian Controller. We see that they have a fair amount of pain points. We're talking about not running at target capacity. We're talking about high energy cost and emissions and lack of experienced operators. And I think it's interesting to see that AI can actually be a big help in solving all of those, even if I'm going to now focus on the cost and high energy cost and high emissions part of this. So energy cost and high emissions are actually two sides of the same coin. So if you can help reduce the energy cost, you're going to get a benefit in terms of reducing the environmental impact too. They're not necessarily linearly connected to each other, but there's a clear correlation between them. So if we look at the industry and what they do, they use a huge amount of energy. I think we're talking about 150 million terajoules per year, roughly. And about 44% of that is to heat and dry and do things like that, that is fueled by this energy process. So it's using a huge amount of energy. And if you can reduce anything with that, that's going to have a major impact on their business and also on the environment. So what are we really talking about? Well, if we look at these process industries, we are seeing that we can, with process optimization using AI, improve their processes with about 5 to 15%, dependent on what kind of industry it is. If it's cement, they have there. If it's chemicals, they have another one, and so on. And also, if you have huge machines like in mining, there's also a really good opportunity to reduce the energy footprint using AI. And then the flip side of it is reducing the emissions and also the other benefits in the environmental side with a lower environmental footprint, using less chemicals and less water and so on. So lots of opportunities there. And it's another interesting side of this is that this is usually at the core of their operations. So this is where they produce all of their products, if we're in paper and pulp and so on, to take an example. So at the core of operations, that's where they have their cost, but also all of their revenues. So any difference that you can make in these areas will have a huge impact on their business. So that results in a really, really nice business case for these companies. But I want to also reach then and look at where we stand with the AI side of this. So where are we in helping these companies with these kind of things? So the AI has really matured over the last few years and has now become so stable and is working in so many environments that it's not really the limitation factor. The limitation side is more on the side of data for these companies. Fortunately, AI is there to help also on that level and can pick a customer and take them on a journey from step to step upwards so that they can handle and get more and more benefits from the AI. But another side of the AI story is how far have we come when it comes to productization? So when I got started with AI about 15 years ago, we had to do everything from scratch. I mean, everything. We were fiddling with algorithms and we were doing everything in data engineering and data science. And there was a lot to do in order to build a solution. So it was a very high effort to deploy. And it still is a fairly high effort to deploy things if you're building things from scratch. So fortunately, there's been a lot of platforms that have come over the last few years that have created an environment making it a lot simpler to deploy and run AI solutions. But more interestingly, I think, is that in the last few years, point solutions have been built. So we're talking about productization of the actual use cases in AI so that you can target the solution to get the benefits of an AI without having to invest in a large data science team and a large data engineering team. So you get a lot lower effort in deploying them, but also you get a much faster time to market. So if you want to do things, we're talking about a few months rather than long projects. So AI has come a long way. Let's see if it goes forward. Yeah, cases. I wanted to touch upon a few cases related to this to just see what kind of things that we're talking about. The first one is a power plant. In this particular case, we're looking at a fairly large power plant, combined both heating and electricity, district heating one. And they have a challenge because they're using municipal waste to power the power plant. And when they do that, they have a strong variation between the energy contents and the humidity of what they're burning. So they get fluctuations that they have to manage. This customer also had an APC and advanced process control to regulate that process already, but didn't get to the target stability and the target output that they were aiming for. So this solution using AI to stabilize the process and raise the output is what we're looking at. And the general improvement is estimated to about 4 to 5% increased power and a more stable operations. Next case is another one. It's in this case chemistry and the plastics manufacturer. They do granulates that are used for PET bottles. Maybe not the most environmentally friendly side of things, but let's focus on the energy side on this one. The interesting part is that they have 3 burners. They're using a humongous amount of natural gas to power the boilers, 2 boilers and 3. They need some redundancy, and they're running this plant at what you could call a comfortable level, comfort level. So that and that is because they really want to avoid any problems and hiccups, because they haven't got that level of control that they want over the process. And that's where the AI come in and really can control the system in a better way so that you get better stability, and you can then start optimizing the process, and having those situations where it's running more optimally is giving them around 5 to 10% of improvement, which is not only good for the environment, but also very good business case again to do that. So what does this look like for an operator that is using such a system? Well, they can do anything from, they get a lot of different tools using this kind of technology. So they can work with a dynamic target where they can have something to aim for that simplifies their work and knowing that they're doing the right thing. We are talking about giving them an opportunity to do scenario exploration of how would we run this given these circumstances. We're talking about being able to, during the running of the operations, change the objectives, and maybe the price of energy is going up and they want to reduce the use of they want to run the process more optimal for a higher price of energy, for instance, and they can do that live in the system. We can go to recommendations, obviously, to recommend the set points for the operators, making them, if they're more senior or junior, depending on where they want to be, or they can have this help. And finally, can also go all the way to autopilot if you have the right data and so on. So a much improved environment for the operators really to have this kind of tool available to them. Yes. So to finish off, we just released an energy optimization e-guide. You can download that. I'll post a link in the chat, and also please follow our LinkedIn if you want to, and connect to me too if you want to.
Great. Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much.